What's going on, guys? Welcome back. More MMA content. Pleased to be joined by Anthony Smith here to talk about the breaking news. UFC 200 will be headlined by a 170 bout, a rematch of Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. Now, to me, the first fight was kind of by default. I mean, RDA got hurt, and I'm all for fan fights. I'm all for fun cards. God knows it made interesting storylines. But MMA, to me, isn't storylines. It's weight classes. And what does a good champion do? To me, they defend a belt. And to me, it bothers me that, Conor has kind of run up a weight division. All his talent aside, I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan, but to me, it's not right that this belt is going to be held by him, and he's not going to have fought for it for 7 months. Actually, add 3 more on if he's going to fight at 200. So 10 months, and the featherweight division is supposed to just, lay dormant because he wants to go fight a different weight class?
That's the one thing that I do have a little bit of a problem with. I'm all about exciting fights because this is truthfully a fight that I want to see where both guys are preparing for each other. Last time you just kind of got a match where those guys kind of just had to go in there kind of really not knowing what to expect without a whole lot of preparation for each other. That said, I do think that if Conor is going to do that, I think that he needs to give up his current title or at least have a plan to go back down there when it doesn't look like there is one. But I do think that, in my opinion, I have a theory of why I think that this is going this way, and so I think there's more plans behind this.
Well, let me just put some comparisons out here, okay? Jose Aldo went 5 years with the belt. He defended 7 times, twice against Chad Mendes. Ronda Rousey, granted, in a much less competitive division, was 6 times in about 2.5 years. Are we not owed, a Mendes-McGregor fight the same way we felt like we were owed this Tate-Holm fight that just happened?
Maybe. I think that there's just so much other stuff that's more pertinent to the UFC, to Conor McGregor. We heard Kenny Florian said he guarantees that he knows GSP is coming back later on in the year, right? He's come out and said that publicly. But he also said that it's not at UFC 200. Which is obvious because it's already a main event. I really believe that Conor McGregor is eyeing a super fight. In order for a super fight between him and GSP to be a legit draw, he has to avenge that loss to Nate Diaz. He has to, because there's already talk about Diaz fighting Robbie Lawler. So, I mean, wouldn't that be something that he comes in and can possibly get through Nate Diaz, and then a super fight and GSP comes back?
Well, let's talk about that because you're a UFC fighter and I'm not. Okay, so I'm not going to pretend to know what goes into your craft, but I can tell you this: Conor McGregor is a brown belt. Nate Diaz is a legitimate first-degree black belt. That's why he's out training kids. Okay, I mean Conor can make fun of that all he wants. I don't know how you can learn that much to make up that much ground in 6 months to get them on level footing on the ground. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, granted. You've been to SBG. I haven't. Maybe Conor is in-depth in BJJ. I don't see that. I see him talking a lot about movements. I see him talking a lot about agility and balance. But you know what? Nate took some of Conor's best shots. He didn't get knocked out. So I don't see where Conor's going to make this any better of a match on the ground. I don't see where you can sit there and look, even though Vegas odds apparently have Conor as the favorite. I just don't see that.
Well, and I think right there lies the intrigue into the fight and why UFC 200 is probably going to be a huge event. Because everyone's wondering the same thing you and I are. If he can't knock him out and can't beat him on the ground, how is Conor McGregor going to beat Nate Diaz? Because we all know it's not going to be by sheer volume because the Diaz brothers will win that battle every single day. The casual fan who's seen the first one is going to tune in and say, well, that didn't go so well the last time. I want to see how this one will go.
And maybe that's when I care too much as a fan. I didn't want UFC 200 to be a fan fight. I wanted it to matter. And it doesn't matter. In my opinion, I'm looking at a fight that everybody just wants to see. But it's a fight that holds 2 weight classes at bay. It doesn't give Diaz a shot at a title that I think he earned. To me, there's more wrong to that than anything. I understand where this fight was built in, but it shouldn't have went past that.
Well, and I think that a lot of this probably take the whole GSP theory away that's super far-fetched, but definitely a possibility. Take my whole crazy theory out of the picture, and what you have is Conor McGregor, who's done a lot for the UFC, a lot to grow the sport, and brought a lot of revenue into the UFC. with a loss now on his record in the UFC that he wants to go ahead and erase and get rid of. It could be that Conor McGregor has that much pull, and that's what he wants. It very well could be that this is kind of the Conor McGregor show.
I actually was just going to say that to you. Do you think that we've got to a point with this title match in place, with some of the talk that Conor has said, and I don't know how much of it is to be true, and you don't either for that matter, I don't think. He talks about the pull that he has within the organization, and that he sits down and he helped make these matches. If this is a fight that he put together strictly for a redemption, strictly for an ego, and strictly for a dollar value, because, listen, we can sit here and talk about it. I can sit here and tell you how much I don't like the premise of the fight. You just said it yourself. We're all going to buy it and watch it. As I said initially, I don't think that MMA is in storylines. MMA is in weight classes, and to me, that's the problem I have with this. Do you think he maybe has too much clout in the matchmaking, and this is proof of it?
Maybe a little bit, but at the same time, I would have a bigger problem with it if he was chasing easy fights. I think that he has more pull than any fighter in the UFC has ever had when it came to making his own matchups. At the same time, I think he's the only guy that's chasing the hardest fights he could possibly get. I think that he could have had easier matchups. If he's choosing matchups, he could have chose easier ones, and he didn't. And that right there is why I don't have a problem with it. But at the same time, we're fighters. We're here to fight. And we're not really supposed to be the ones picking the matchups. And so. The fighter in me says, just fight whoever they line up, do your job, and do as you're told. But then a little bit of me, kind of the fan side, is like, God damn, like this dude, he's just throwing himself to the wolves. You know what I mean? He's talking about Robbie Lawler. He's talking about, the Diaz brother. I mean, he's talking about big name dudes that, even when I hear, like, God damn, Conor, like that's a big dude. Like it's a tough guy. So. Yeah, I guess my answer is yes and no. I think he does, but at the same time, I'm a little bit of a fan of it.